welcome back to episode 10 of Couch Gods. This is the prelude. We have a quick, brief, special guest. Bruce M, everybody, give us a shout out.
Bruce M here. How's this go?
I mean, you know, you talk. Remember to speak into the mic, though, whenever you do talk.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bruce M here, man. Just out here living life.
So, what's it like having a newborn child?
Oh, man. I talked to somebody about this the other day, the bond, and especially a little girl is like no other feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Still to this day, she'll be two in July, and still to this day it feels unreal sometimes just because of where I've been at.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the best feelings in the world. I don't always have the best days, but coming in the door after work, it just lights it right up.
Oh man, that smile, that daddy moment.
Oh, yeah.
She runs up, grabs you by the leg, you drag her around the house.
Oh man, I love her.
What type of activities have you guys done together?
So, for only being almost 2 years old, she's super smart.
Yeah.
She's like starting to say full sentences.
Do you think that comes from the mother or the father?
Definitely her.
Yeah.
She's around her a lot more, obviously, because I'm at work. She works from home, and she also works on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes to daycare 3 days a week, too, so she has that contact with other kids.
Social. That's really important, especially within, basically to become socialized within year 2 is, like, highly important to any child's growth,
Yeah, man, she's just super. I guess I always liked kids, but I haven't been around them as much.
Yeah.
Obviously, but just to see, I guess compare, a lot of my friends have children the same age, and just to like compare them and see how like each of them progress.
Where they stack up.
Yeah.
The rosters.
Yeah, and she's just
killing it.
Just super smart, and
wicked smart.
She knows right from wrong, and
yep. She's got principles. She's got morals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we got a little man on the way. I
love it.
Yeah, come on.
Come on. Gotta have the girls and the boys.
No, I always wanted. So we're gonna have a boy, and that's gonna be it too. I think that's good.
Oh, for sure.
But I kind of feel like if it was gonna be a girl again, then you'd have to try again for the boy.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
3 times you're out.
Eh?
My man's gonna have a big family.
Yeah, no, my brother has four kids. Another one on the way.
Really?
Yeah.
5.
I come from a family of 4.
Okay. That's great, man. Yeah, I came from, I have 2 sisters, so.
Yeah. 2 older sisters, a younger brother.
Nice. Solid. So what do you think, do you think it's better to have siblings or not to? I've always seen that it's a benefit, you know what I mean? Because you build those bonds and those relationships growing up. You rag on each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so when we were younger, I remember when I was younger, my oldest sister, would always beat us up.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. Like, just like roughhousing. But yeah, my oldest sister definitely, she'd beat us all up.
She ever cold cock you in the eye?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
Nah, but just like bully us, and as you get older and a little bigger, then you start to fight back, and
yeah, you get teeth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it. My sister once threw I think it was either a Bible or an encyclopedia with like a real thick spine. You know what I mean? A hard copy.
Yeah.
Off the top of the fucking stairs and hit me square in the face. Like line drive, threw it spinning, like
just fucked you up.
Fucked me up silly, bro.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing. What do you think's going to happen? Kids get hurt, right? Just messing around, playing around, doing dumb shit, falling off stuff. Any of those scenarios where it just like made you cringe, or where you're like, just handle it.
So I was thinking about that the other day too, talking about like getting emotional, and the only time I get emotional, dude, is obviously like my best friend overdosed last year.
Yeah.
I got a little emotional there, but going way back to my mom when she passed away when I was a junior in high school, that was like the time I cried like a real cry.
Yeah.
Because in like active addiction, dude, I could just off the top just act like I'm crying.
Yeah.
But
play cry.
Something real real legit, like really feeling it, were those 2 times. And then this is gonna sound corny, but watching like American Idol or The Voice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. There we go.
Yeah, and then there was one time a couple months ago, I was acting like I was crying, and I was with my daughter, and then she started crying because I was acting like I was crying.
And then you really started crying.
And then I felt that connection. I was like, damn, I started to feel bad.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it was good.
That's great, dude. Yeah, I'm sure it's no surprise I cry all the time.
Yeah.
You know, he knows that. There's a story behind that. What happened?
Yeah, I feel like when you get clean and sober, you feel different.
You do, yeah.
And it's
Emotions
like,
come in waves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then your pride and ego, for me, I try to like really take a look at it and like, am I pride and ego driven? But then like when it comes to that shit, I just feel like it's legit. I just don't feel like I did at one point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. There's like, I feel like all the times I cry, I never cry because something's bad anymore. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had a bad cry since I got clean. No, I did. I did have one bad cry. You know what I mean? That was like real. I was just like hysterically losing it. So I redact that comment. But now mostly it's like, you know, I'm sitting listening to leads or in meetings, and I just feel something. You know how you feel emotion? You feel other people's emotion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And their passion or whatever. That makes me tear up every time.
I feel like a guy's lead like kind of lifts me up, but if I hear a woman's lead, then it like breaks me down a little bit.
Breaks you down?
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
You're like on that point to like maybe a tear or something.
Okay.
Honestly,
I've actually never heard a woman's lead.
Yeah, I heard quite a few.
Really?
Yeah, quite a few were at Thursday night, even at Tuesday night.
Actually, I have. I've heard a couple, maybe 2 women's leads. I don't know if maybe it did make me cry. I'm not even sure. But like I cry if I'm going to a meeting, more than likely I'm crying a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's not even it's you hear their story and then you see them now. So
yeah.
Like
and it's so uplifting, and it's just like the shit that people had to endure and go through, and you're like, fuck.
Right.
You're like, and now look at them. Yeah, they're grazing in the pasture of life. And then you got the idiots who don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who just like fucking, hey.
Yeah.
You know, but, man, it's crazy. Life and emotion. What was growing up like? So would you equate, are you trying to distill your childhood to your child, or are you trying to give your child a new, you know what I mean?
Oh, I definitely knew life different.
A reinvented childhood.
I didn't have I guess there was 4 of us. My dad raised us 4 on his own after. My dad was an alcoholic, and he stopped drinking after he had my brother, so my youngest sibling. After my brother was born, my mom took off with the next door neighbor to Newcastle.
Oh, shit.
And that was, we'd go see her. That's like the mom and dad thing was never there. We'd go see her.
Did you feel like there was any like resentment from your father
towards
your mom, or?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. He didn't wear it though.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's a stand-up man right there.
I guess it's hard to tell too. Also, I mean, being at a young age, and even after all these years, you wonder and you think, like, even being like the position you are now, like, you think of, because you take your inventory and you look at your past, and it's like, I think about those questions, all those questions, but I still never, like, maybe I might hit on some stuff when I see my dad. I'll talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Never got, like, deep into it. Or even, like, how my mom passed away. It's been 11 years. And what was it, 2 months ago, I talked to, it came up, her, from when she died, and I was just talking to Lena about it, and I called my sister, because I still never got, like, a clarity on how my mom passed away. He said a mixture of alcohol and her medication, but my second oldest sister was an active addiction and was around her the most.
Oh, wow.
So she was like, yeah.
Kind of knew.
It was drugs.
Yeah, it was drugs.
And
Yeah.
I knew, but I didn't know at that time. I mean, being in high school, I was in, like, sports. I wasn't really heavy into, you know what I mean, the drugs and shit. But that was something I always...
You want a closure to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, but I guess, like, going back, yeah, I wanted to have, like, a life that I didn't have. Not saying that my life wasn't terrible growing up.
Yeah.
My dad did the best that he could. But obviously, as a father, you want better.
And you want to be, you want the whole family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's like, you know, I was really privileged with having the whole family. You know what I mean? But also, it's like we were insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is going to happen. I mean, you're going to have, we're an odd bunch, you know, as you can imagine. You met my uncle, right? Yeah. And so it's like, that's just like our family. We're just, you know, characters. But, you know, I feel like there's, it's weird. Like, addiction will make you, like, I mean, at a certain point, I just was devoid from my family. I lived in the house, you know what I mean? I saw them all the time, but, like, I was, like, private, you know what I mean? I was trying to, like, live another life, double life. The isolator. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Go into my room. Boop.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Pop in the room, open the window, jump off the roof, duck and roll. You know what I mean? Come back 3, 4 in the morning, pull a trash can up onto the stoop, climb it up, get on the roof, go through my window, open the door, put the trash can back. You know?
Those were the days.
Those were the days. I mean, it's a shame you think about, you know, I think we brought this up on the podcast before, but it's a shame. It's like kids these days, what the fuck are they doing?
Right.
I mean, I remember just like, you know, finding abandoned cars in the woods.
Or going in the woods and building BMX tracks and hiking.
BMX tracks,
we had
biking.
this little patch of woods, and we would just hike it thinking it was this big-ass forest.
Like jungle, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you were a inner city kid.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? That's like that experience. Try to tell the audience, what's it like? The rigmarole. What do you get into as children, being children?
I mean, I feel like you experience everything. You're not sheltered. So my dad did the best that he could. Like I went to a Catholic grade school, and then it was my choice to go to a Catholic high school. But so I had like at my grade school friends, and then I had the neighborhood friends, and we did go to bed at a certain time. But I mean, just thinking.
What was your favorite, like, hangout spot, like, eating place? Like, fucking y'all get a couple bucks, go down, get a burger.
We'd go to Mike and Tony's Gyro on the south
Mike
side.
and Tony's, a staple.
We'd play pickup basketball or pickup football at 22nd Street Park on the south side, and go to Mike and Tony's after, get 2 gyros. And then
classic.
You got to get the sauce and dip the fries in the sauce.
Woo!
It's fire.
Dude, you're talking my language. I would do my Mike and Tony's days. I was a fucking vagrant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was around the corner. tell you a real quick story. So one time I was walking, I worked at Hofbrauhaus. I think you worked at
I
Hofbrauhaus.
worked there too, yeah.
Most people in Pittsburgh at some point worked at Hofbrauhaus.
Oh, yeah.
But, I was doing, you know what I mean? I was the schnitzel guy. I was dropping schnitzel in the fryer. Boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just that dude. And, I got done with a long day. I got to walk all the way up, up the south side slopes, you know what I mean? Up those crazy fucking... also, for the audience, if you're ever in Pittsburgh, check out the assortment of wild fucking staircases throughout the city.
Oh, yeah.
We got them all. A lot of them are dangerous. I wouldn't suggest run on them. You know what I mean? Take your time. Enjoy the views. See a crackhead. You know what I mean? Somewhere. Maybe a deer that looks like it's diseased. But turkeys from time to time. But just wild. So, I'm gearing up in my mind to go up the south side slopes, and I'm walking, and I run into this like fucking super hot chick, kind of hot. You know what I mean? Not like a 10, but tall, which is like for me was like in the day was like attractive. I like climbing trees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm fucking sort of start talking because she's from some other country, and we're walking, and this is when I was like real. You know what I mean? I'd do anything to use. And this guy in front of us, this Guido Italiano, you know what I mean? Buff dude, swings around the corner. I think he's wearing a suit or something. And his fucking big, fat Italian leather wallet pops out of the back of his pants. And it's like, and lands flat on the ground. And he's got his headphones in. And he just keeps walking. And I'm like, and this girl, she's looking somewhere and she doesn't see it. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, okay. And she's like, and then she looks at me and she's talking, and I know we're coming up on it. You know what I mean? It's in the next like 10 feet of walking. We're going to run into this wallet on the ground. And I'm like, hey, yo, check that out. And I just fucking scooped that thing. You know what I mean? And I think it had like $400 or $500 in cash. And then try to figure out the card thing, but that never works, But
It's a come up.
It's a come up. You know what I mean? It's a come up. I also ran into a bag of cash on Grandview Park.
Really?
Yep. Some guy was out of his mind. I was in the park, so I was out of my mind. You know what I mean? And I was sitting there. You know at Grandview Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's got that weird like stage thing. And I'm sitting there on one of those benches and up on the hillside with all the trees. You know what I mean? If you go down that little sidewalk thing, it gets to that basketball court. It's like a school or something like that.
Yep.
And there's this guy who's like passed out at the base of a tree, and his head's on this backpack. You know what I mean? I think he's like probably nodded off or something's going on, right? And then I'm looking at him because he starts moving, and he just pops up, looks around, and then runs down this face of the mountain, full sprint.
Steep side.
Steep side. Not thinking, not looking, just booking, right? I'm like, holy shit.
It's a drop off.
Yeah, it's literally a cliff. You know what I mean? I'm like, motherfucker just died. He was, you know what I mean? He woke up, he saw Jesus. He started putting a move to it. Maybe somebody was after him. Maybe he was coming out of a trip. I don't know what was going on. Or he just needed, to use now. But I'm like, holy shit. He left his backpack, so I ran up there and opened it up. There's a fucking shit ton of cash in it. Amongst other things.
Yeah.
And stuff that at that time I didn't use, but I could sell.
Yeah.
And it was, the city was a crazy place.
Yeah, I never hit any. I never got lucky like that to where I come up on cash like that. I do. I remember one time I was working I was staying in a hotel in Buffalo, New York. I was working up there and I found a wallet on the ground. There was $1,000 in it, and I took. I thought I was doing the right thing, and I took $800 and left $200 in it.
Okay.
And then gave it to the office.
Okay.
But it was still wrong.
Yeah. Did you get away with it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, still wrong. But in the moment, I think that goes like, was it in the time where you like heavy in addiction, like needed shit?
I think at that point, I was like in between.
Yeah.
I was getting shit from home and then taking it up there, running out, and then before, obviously, eventually I found a connection up there. And that was bad.
Bad news bears, man.
Just ended up in no idea, knew nothing about like Buffalo besides where I was staying and where we were working downtown, and just running in the insanity part of it, just running into random people, and ending up in the worst parts of Buffalo, ghettos.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York is like kind of a shithole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like
Dude,
Cleveland.
There was a whole street of, I mean, and there's trap houses around here, but there was a whole street of boarded up trap houses, no cars on the street.
Yeah.
You pull up front, and then but people use them houses like, and you know what I mean, come out the woodwork out the back, and
like retail shops.
yeah, like it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean it's fucking. I think if you go to most cities, you'll have a spot like that.
Yeah. Where
it's like like South Valley, New Mexico. It's lawless. Cops don't go down there.
Yeah.
Certain streets, just like fucking whatever. But I think nowadays, which is different than even whenever we were out there. It's like there's entire like sections of the city that are just like, that's what you do. Like in Philadelphia, you got that, whatever that street is where people are walking around like zombies, just open. Yeah, fucking.
I watch it all the time.
Yeah, it's a trip.
I just don't. I think that was like the most shook I ever was. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just sitting there waiting.
Oh yeah, dude.
But you still don't give a fuck.
No, yeah, you're like fucking. Yeah, I'll do this. I fucking, dude. I never had. That was never my thing. Was the opioids or whatever. But I will say this: that one time my buddy, took me down somewhere south, or no, it was one of the coastal cities. I don't know where the fuck, like somewhere on the East Coast, Rehoboth Beach, I think. But we're down there, and like his dad, who's a junkie, just came up to me, just like, "Can you help me get heroin?" And I'm like, "What?" You know what I mean? I'm like, "Yeah, sure," because you know what I mean? And I just fucking picked the closest brother I could find. And this dude said, "Oh yeah, I'll get it for you." Just walked with his money. This dude, like,
oh yeah,
his dad gave him like $200 or whatever, and I was like, this is so uncomfortable. Yeah, and the whole time he's like, you can't tell my son I did this, and I was like, you're putting me in a weird spot. Yeah, But I don't know. That made me realize things to come. You know what I mean? Where I was going to go in my life, which wasn't a good thing, but.
Yeah, I mean, the stories can go on and on and on forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, but now it's like, now life is great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you wonder your whole life. Did you ever get the feeling whenever you're using that you're afraid of not using and just being clean? What's up, Julia?
I guess there was always... Mm-hmm. There was always that thought and hope.
Mm-hmm. It comes and it goes.
But you can just never get there.
You could never get there. It was like it was something you wanted, but yeah, you could never get there. Well, I think that's all we have.
It was $10. That's what it was, $10. I only have $10, so I'm not going to be anything, you know what I mean? I might as well just blow it on this last one.
Yeah, the cycle.
That's what you live by.
Yeah, caught in the cycle. The $20.
Yeah.
The $40.
I mean, it'd be nice to...
The $200 paycheck.
Right.
Yeah. Or you get the paycheck and it's already gone.
Every time.
It's already fronted out. You're
Already owed it.
And then you go and you try, you know what I mean? And then you say, oh, well, you know what I mean? I'm getting my next paycheck on Friday. And they're like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, can you give me to, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you just know. You know what I mean? And it's like those moments where it's like I literally was like a squirrel. And I would sneak downstairs. I would live in this trap house and I would just take a corner of a piece of bread.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would look around and I would just run back upstairs.
So when life gets hard and you play a tape through.
Yeah.
Those are the main. For me at least, those are the main things I think of.
Mm-hmm.
It's being broke all the time. I mean, everything that comes with the family, waiting on dope.
The weight.
Waiting on dope.
Yeah, the weight, man, dude. I'll tell you what. If you don't look back on that and you're just happy, you're content, you're like, at least I'm not waiting in that. You know what I mean? Because that's a whole different ball game, bro.
Are you getting robbed or are the police going to show up before you get your shit?
It's a toss-up, I remember one time I couldn't wait any longer. I just started I would do this. I would be sitting there waiting. Be like, yeah, I'm right around the corner. And a fucking hour would pass by. And I would just get on the move. I would just put my shoes on, just start moving. Try to run into somebody in the streets. And it was all, like you said, it was a toss-up. Am I getting robbed? Yeah,
no. I fucking wait an hour, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But just that thought, knowing you're about to get something, made you feel a little that much better.
Mm-hmm. Thank God. But it's just, in the end, it was over before it started. You know what I mean? For me, it was 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
I came from... I was at my sister's in Newcastle, and I was that's when everything, broke down. I was like, all right, I'm going to Uniontown.
I'll bleep it, don't worry.
And I went back to where I was from,
mm-hmm.
and I told myself, I was like, if I don't use one more time, then I'm not going.
Yeah.
So I waited an hour and a half, and then headed down here after that.
Yeah.
But I fully believe if I didn't, I might not even be here if I didn't.
Isn't that fucking crazy to think about?
Yeah.
It's I had 2 chances to come down here, and it was the first one was they called me and they're like, so you coming? And I was like, no. I'm still figuring it out. I'll be fine. I got this job lined up. You know what I mean? This shit we say, right? But really, I think I ran into some money somewhere and was able to use for a little bit longer. And then at the end, it was just I was fucking whatever.
It was dark.
I said, just come get me.
It was dark and you were alone.
I'm feeding ducks Doritos at the Point in Pittsburgh. Come get me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. Also, middle of COVID. So it was just the worst. Can't believe I made it through it. Honestly. I also believe if the PUA money came and I was still out there, I would have died.
Yeah.
100%. I think a week before I came out here, I had what's it called? Either a grand mal seizure or a stroke where I just fucking woke up and I thought I got kidnapped.
Yeah.
Had no memory at all, and I couldn't see colors, just black and white. And I was like, where the fuck am I? And I'm looking around, I'm like, somebody's fucking kidnapping me. I don't even know where I'm at. And I was in my dealer's house.
Yeah.
And they walked in the door, and I was all freaked out. And they were like, yo, what's going on here? Fast forward 10 minutes later, he's banging probably the worst hookers he'd ever, just skeleton bodies. You know what I mean? Banging. I'm in this room, I'm watching Monsters Incorporated on a Kindle that my parents gave me. You know? And that was bitter ends for me. I was just like, I want out. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I can't do this any longer. But, I mean, it took a long time to get to that point. Years. What do you think about people who are young who are getting clean?
People that are young that are getting clean?
Yeah. What's the track record on that? Good, bad? Still got some fight in them? Not going to make it. Gonna make it.
What do you mean, like people that we don't know?
Just people, from your experience, people who come into recovery who are young. 20s. You know what I mean? Like 20.
I don't know, man. I think that's tough.
It's tough. Because how old were you when you came in?
27.
27. So you were getting, yeah. That's right when I came in 28. You know.
I don't know. I feel like it comes to a certain point in time, and I feel like you have to go through
some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can tell when somebody hasn't gone through shit.
Yeah, but there's guys here that got clean young.
Well, no, so exactly. So it's like, but it's a more of a likelihood, you know.
I think God has a plan for everybody.
Exactly.
Whenever you're in the trenches, you know what I mean. Whenever you're whatever struggle you're going through, whatever you're going through in life, it's
meant to happen.
be.
It's meant to happen.
Right.
You are where you are for a reason.
Yeah.
Some people aren't meant to make it. Others are.
Right.
And others are there to help, right? To serve, to give back, to be a man of faith, you know what I mean? A man of belief, and to distill that in others. Instill that in others, I should say.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, I've always believed in God. Mm-hmm. But since I've been clean and really, like, started to believe more and build my faith, pray and really get deep in prayer, it made life that much better. It made things that much easier.
Yes.
But you have to have a clear and clean conscience.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's the, even when it's hard, when it's really hard, not sure if you're going to make it financially or this or that, you know, general struggles of life, right?
Yeah.
It's dark, you got to put in a lot of hours, you know what I mean? The pressures, am I good enough, all that sort of shit. Whenever you have a real belief and faith, right, in God or a higher power or whatever you want to call it, right? It's like, you're just like, this is what it's supposed to be. It's okay, it'll work out. It always works out.
Yeah, you can, like,
yeah.
You can, I mean, you think about it, it's there, but then you can kind of, like, push to the side as long as you have that faith. And
yeah. You're like, he wants me to go through this. It's going to be fine.
Right.
The craziest thing is we're able to look back and we're like, I'm not on the streets. I'm not in jail. I'm not chasing the next one.
Yeah, I feel like it just...
Everything hails in comparison to that shit. You know what I mean?
And it creates stress. You create more stress on yourself if you can't just...
Let go and surrender to God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to do it. Do it on the daily. Well, this is Bruce M., everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the prologue to episode 10, A Little Treat, Bruce M. This little section was brought to you by Amity Seal Coating. Do you want your driveway sealed? Do you want your parking lot sealed or patched? They are the guys to do it. They will show up in a nice Chevy dually with smiling faces, getting things coated for you. No rain, only shine. Amity Seal Coating. Thank you, Bruce. It's been a pleasure. Let's get the rest of the guys in here. This is the prelude to episode 10 of Couch Godz. Thank you.
Daylight come and me one go home.
Easy day.
Yeah, you fucking ruined it. You suck, both of you. I was about to kill it.
Daylight,
Daylight, come and me one go.
Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
Hey, what is that again, David? What do they sound like?
Jamaican bobsled team.
Easy daylight. Come and me one go home. Daylight, come and me one go home.
Highly deadly black tarantula.
Daylight, come and me one go home.
Oh, God, I love you, Dave M.
Day is a day. All righty, and welcome back to episode 10 of Couch
What about
God.
the
You didn't do it.
You didn't dial in.
You didn't do it.
What do you mean? Okay, yeah, let's start that over.
Yeah. Repeat.
All right, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Couch Gods. We are on number 10. Number 10. We're making it to 10 digits. Statistically, most podcasts don't get over 7 episodes.
It's actually 2 digits.
Yeah, we were all there.
2 digits. Thank you.
10 digits. I mean, I hope to see that, but
Dave M., everybody, the sanest person in the room. Give us a little shout out.
not saying, but I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
It's a compliment. Thanks, Clarence. We appreciate you being here.
The
Thanks
big
for sharing.
C.
Clickety Clarence.
Clack.
No clack.
No clack.
You're a quack.
All
Clack,
right.
Clack does crack.
Quack does crack. Nice. This was terrible.
Shit. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Never forgotten, but always here. Dave S3.
S3.
Always and forever.
Yeah.
S3, baby.
Yeah.
Shit was hard earlier on. He's like, ooh, S3's in there.
S3.
He's no longer Dave. He's just S3.
That's people call me that at work.
Roman numeral style, too.
All
Yeah, exactly. That's how he did it too. Yeah.
yeah,
all
I was there.
of Dave S3's.
It was like you were on the podcast last time, like that same as being there.
Yeah, exactly. I was observing.
Yeah.
So all of Dave S3's portions of his cut from this podcast are going towards his very own Audi S3.
No, all-wheel drive. Lame.
Lame. You don't like it.
No, I don't-
Rears only.
I don't like all-wheel drive cars.
Okay.
It's all about the rear.
Rear, all about it. All about the rear.
Big butt stuff. Nico.
Nico, recovering addict, decade in, athlete. You know me.
Love
They
it.
know me as the fucking doctor.
Big doctor. He's doing surgery. And then how?
Spiritual surgery.
Spiritual surgery.
Taking spirits. I'm cutting people open. I'm taking their spirit,
The soul.
We could work together.
nursing
on
them back
this.
to health. I'm putting it back in, sewing them back
Oh, you're
up.
giving it back?
He's
Oh,
giving
yeah. You can't just rip people's fucking souls out and not give it back.
Yeah.
What do you think I am? Fucking Temple of Doom?
Kalima. You know what I mean?
Mr. What? I'm sorry?
Mr. Sunday Night.
Sunday
Awesome.
night. And in typical fashion, Bert is late.
Don't acknowledge him.
Don't fuck the table up this time, Bert.
I thought it'd be later, actually.
Watch the look at the. Make sure everything's in focus.
That's not bad timing.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Bert. Glad you're here.
Thanks,
Yeah, you have
Bert.
to make sure I look really good.
Did you bring
I
cheddar bay
always
biscuits?
want to be like, fuck Bert, because that's the bit. But
Say
you know
that
what?
to
I thought
Bert.
you
He
were
will
going to
literally fuck that up on purpose. It's just how he is.
You were here
damn.
much earlier than I
A strange
anticipated.
management
You know,
style.
it actually made us seem very misogynist the whole episode.
Nice.
What's that?
Oh, I hope people say that.
Where,
Oh, yeah, just blur out
because
the
she
woman.
was just blurred out, and we were
Yeah.
trying to get her perspective, and she was just like not there on video.
If the shoe fits. If the shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, we did it on purpose.
So, Juice, what's up?
What's up, Juicy?
Give us an intro. You're up.
Julia, owner of the beauty spa. Beauty by... Fuck, I fuck that up every time.
Just bring it
The
back.
Beauty Spa by Julia on Facebook. Business owner, mother of 3.
mother of 3, and podcaster.
And now podcaster, I guess.
Yeah.
3 times, right? Is this number 3 for you?
Yeah.
She's got airtime.
Airtime.
Jordans. All right. I'm and I'm your host, Andrew Z. So, welcome to another fun-filled episode where we're going to get into trauma. You know.
I didn't think we were really going to do it.
Hey, why not? You got any, Dave? Tell us. The people need to know.
No, I'm not. Well, man, why do you want me to start off? It's going to get weird.
Because we got to go to you first because I've been picking on Clarence.
You just flicked your cigarette like it was at him. That probably goes.
It's his church. He does what he wants.
Church.
Burn this motherfucker down.
All
Claim
right,
the
I think
insurance money. Who
that
cares?
let's go off of like some. I mean, I could give you like a super quick synopsis, but then it's not like natural. Let's just delve into somewhere else, or
There's nothing
start-
quick about your trauma,
Dave.
Dave.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
We
that's,
all have trauma, I'm sure.
I think everyone does. I would like to hear Clarence's perspective on trauma first, and maybe then I could relate, and then maybe we could do a round table with the trauma, or we could start somewhere else. I would prefer not to start.
I think we all just want to start with you.
Yeah, I think it's a general consensus now.
Put it out on the table,
be a
set
good
the
sport.
tone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really great. That I'm like never uncomfortable on here. That's fuck you, Clarence. Thanks for doing that. I thought you might take that one for me, like a friend.
No.
Yeah, no, you tend to like do that in these moments.
Don't clam up on us now. S3.
Okay, I would proceed. Okay,
Nick,
things
how
like
about you
this.
take it? You're good at talking.
Yeah, and you.
Set the tone.
After
you do
watching
that
some
often.
of these episodes, I don't think I'm as good at talking as I thought I was. You know, I'll bang right now. You
All
want me
right,
to
let's
bang?
bang
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Trauma. I'm usually someone who, when I share about my story, I had 2 parents that loved each other, stayed together. They both worked. Like, I was brought up right, you know. So usually I say that I don't have trauma, but what I do have is being the source of trauma. That's usually where I tend to go in. I tend to look at myself and see how I was the source of trauma. There's some things I'm not going to get into, just because it's a little bit too deep, too dark, you know. But
50.
obviously in addiction, you know what I mean, I was just a taker. I robbed the people that loved me the most. I crossed lines in the sand. To rebuttal myself here for a second, now that I'm thinking about it, all those lines in the sand that we draw, that we inevitably cross, is traumatizing. And one thing that I have sorted out since I've been clean, and I'm still sorting out, is realizing what I'm capable of. You know, realizing that a lot of these fallacies I think that I held of myself, a lot of the views that I held of myself weren't really true. When you get down to the nitty gritty, was like I was a person who caused trauma. I'm sure it was traumatizing for my family to watch their golden boy, you know, steal from them and rob from them, and look sick, 140 pounds like an alien, and there was nothing they could do, you know. Yeah. And in the meantime, looking back, like I realized in time, because when you first get clean, the damage is so close. You're too close to it. You can't get that bird's eye view of the wreckage. You're just so close.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt yet, for me at least. And now that I've had a perspective change, and I've had some people break some things down for me, I have more clarity. I've accepted some things, right? And I'm not ashamed of the things I did, because, I mean, I was possessed by addiction. I was just in it, you know? But I know now that I'm capable of anything. There's a book that was written some years back. It's called Ordinary Men. Ordinary Men's essentially about a book of these ordinary men during the Nazi Germany time. These were like community members. They were police officers, firemen, community members. These were just men in the community, right? And because of social pressures and the way things went, these went from ordinary men servicing their community to executing pregnant Jewish women in fields. And the book's called Ordinary Men because it's like, how did we go from being like these upstanding members of our society to shooting these pregnant Jewish women because they bought into indoctrination that they were non-human. The reason why I bring that book up in that story, as dark as it is because I'm an ordinary man.
Yep.
I know that there are some things that activate in me that are monstrous and despicable and pathetic and, dare I say, evil. And I think a lot of people don't have that part of their shadow properly integrated. I think people think they're above shit, so when they act out on fucking behaviors, they're like surprised by it. But see, the way our process works and the way my process works is like, I've become more and more aware of what kind of fucking monster I am. I'm not above anything, you know? But obviously, like, I keep these things in check, man. I've integrated myself in society. I have people that I talk to, essentially unlimited amounts of therapy that I have with my fellows and stuff like that. So, and that's traumatic too, realizing that you gotta be a hard motherfucker to accept the fact that you're the monster. Instead of pointing the finger at everybody else and all the things that went awry, it was me the whole time. So that's usually my take on things, just because I didn't have any, I wasn't molested, I wasn't abused, it's bullying and stuff, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing I can put my finger on that says that was the reason, that was the thing.
Or that was trauma.
You're right, I can't put my finger on it and say that was the trauma, but the trauma was self-inflicted, you know? So that's all I got.
I go to trauma therapy weekly. And my trauma therapist is so trauma is different for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, like something that affects me deeply does not affect you deeply or vice versa. And so all like because I didn't have two parents. You know, my dad wasn't there, and there's something called art therapy that I do. And have you heard of that?
It's like equine therapy, only with pencils and...
Yes. So
Yeah.
basically you kind of just draw your trauma out as you remember it. And then you tell a story about that trauma, and then it makes it just a story. So you relive it, you visit it, and then you just make it a story. And so it helps kind of like go through that. But also there's like an internal dialogue that you do. So it's like all kind of things. You do like a trauma timeline, and then the art therapy, and then the internal dialogue. And all of my trauma is all rooted back to abandonment. Every single thing. Because what you do with this, when you do the internal dialogue, is with your right hand, your dominant hand, you talk to your inner child, or that part of you. It's called parts work. And then with the other hand, you write what you feel and what you hear. Every single time I'm having some sort of issue that is pressing to me and I don't know what's going on or what's happening, it all stems back to this moment of all those times my dad said that he would send things and never sent things. But my cousin, his dad lived in Oklahoma, my dad lived in Texas. Well, his dad would literally drive an RV all the way up here and pick him up. And it was me standing on my porch watching his family pick him up and take him and wishing I was him, you know? And that's literally every single thing always resorts back to not being chosen.
Standing on that porch.
Yep. Watching my cousin go away and wishing that I was him.
Wow.
Wishing you had somewhere to go.
Wishing that someone
to come get
wanted
you.
me.
Yeah.
Wishing that like someone would do that for me. And no one did. You know?
That's tough stuff.
Yeah.
Should we get into Dave?
I'll give her a go. It's interesting to hear. So I've like thought about that as the like, you know, I've been the inducer, like I have induced such trauma, but I also, there are definitely reasons, but I can't like pinpoint one reason, but there are just like so many stories. Like the first time I ever used, I was like 8, and it was because my dad hit me with a bed frame and broke me off some of his oxys. He hit me with the hood latch of a Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer. Like, you know, I was fucking, like, there's some weirdness with, like, my uncle and my family. Like, it's the spectrum of things. Like, my mom's side of the family is so wholesome, and, like, she's good. And there has been induced trauma, it has been from me. Like, I'm the one that's induced it on that side of the family. Anything I said about, like, oh, how I've done it to like, to my dad's side of the family would be, like, it would be disingenuous. You know, my uncle, like, definitely, I don't know. I was actually just talking about this. Like, my uncle probably, like, definitely did some weirdness with me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I went to, like, if I don't remember it vividly, but I remember going to the doctors and, like, holding my fucking balls up, like my fucking single ball, and, like, wrapping the skin around it to be like, what is it? Like, what are these? And it was just like, I was fucking young, and the doctor was like, they're hair follicles. You're going to have fucking hair there. And it was just fucking like, it's like, oh, my Uncle Bill didn't say that, you know? Like, just weird stuff like that. I had some weird encounters with my cousins. My dad was physical, but also, I don't know if it's abandonment or not, but, like, I'll never forget when I think I was 9, because it was, like, right after my parents got divorced. They got married after they had me. There are, like, pictures of me being, like, 2 years old at their wedding at my grandma's. And then they divorced 5 years later, so I was 7. It must have been 2 years later after that, or right during the divorce. I don't remember the specific time frame, but, like, I remember being at that house on Rupert Drive in Fairview, and my dad coming there telling me he was leaving, and, like, it wasn't my fault, and, like, tried to, like, comfort me and all that, but he fucking left and went to Florida. And it was always like, and my dad was the fucking just master of, like, empty promises.
Yeah.
It was always this, I'll be there for this, I'll do this, I say it, like, everyone here's probably heard me, like, joke around about, like, yep, I scored a goal in soccer. I did. My dad was not there. You know what I mean? Like, it was, like, such a big thing for, like, a long time. I wanted my dad to, like, see me do something. And, like, when I scored in football, it was like, I wanted him to see that. And he wasn't around for any of those moments. Like, my dad never showed up for a fucking football game. He never was there for fucking anything, man. Just, like, fishing or whatever. I don't know. It's like, I hate, my dad's dead. Like, both of my parents are gone. And it's such a, like, I hate kind of speaking ill of him, you know, but it's the truth. Like, just as I was started to get closer with my dad, he died, and we had, like, been in an argument, and then he died. So I don't know if that's trauma or not, but, like, it definitely fucked with me. My dad tried to kill himself and was, like, on the phone with me, and that happened. You know what I mean? Like, I guess, yeah, I skipped over, fucking, you guys know, but, like, my dad had 3 wives, and his first one, like, cheated on him with his brother, so who I thought was my half-sister actually wasn't my half-sister, and she's actually my cousin, and, like, my dad's 3rd wife is actually my Aunt Anita, because my dad's other brother died, and then my dad married his wife. So it's just, like, a fucking weird thing, a convoluted, like, weirdness. You know, I don't even know. That's what I would consider. Like, I feel like if I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's trauma. But I don't know. Like, I know the shit that I did to my mom like while she had cancer, and I was like stealing her pills, you know, and like when she went into the hospital, and I took them, and she came back telling me about how hospice was like gonna watch that, and I was so worried, and I had who I thought was my sister, but my cousin come and bring me these fucking pills so that I could like replace them, but my mom didn't even check because she knew I stole them.
Yeah.
You know, and all the time, like, I took from her, just, like, worrying that, I've told you guys, but you probably heard me say it, but, like, about the letter she wrote me because she knew I was stealing from her, and just the terribleness that I did to my mom, who was the least deserving person of it. Mm-hmm. That's the worst trauma that I could have ever done to anybody. I don't feel bad about whatever I did to my dad. Like, I don't ever think about that stuff. I think about what I did to my mom, like, all the time. You know, I wish she was still here to, like, it would be so, you know, I hear people talking about giving their parents money. Mm-hmm. It'd be so fucking cool to, like, give my mom money, give her some money back, and just be like, oh, like this bill? Like, I fucking make good money now, you know? Like, I don't know, compared to what I ever have. And it would be really, really cool to do that and just, like, have her, like, she would come and visit. Like, she's such a good fucking person. My mom was, you know? And all the terribleness I did to her is something that is trauma that, like, I induced. My cousins, like, now know on my mom's side, like, the good ones, the good people. Kids love me, man. You know what I mean? Like, people's families love me. That's like I've done that so much and taken people to see their family. That's the thing. And she told me once I was clean, they, like, set up this whole thing to have my other cousin come and pick me up at Walmart and act like it was a scam. Like, or act like it was natural. Like, oh, hey, DJ, you know, here's Holly. My family calls me DJ. That's what all my family calls me. And they were like, oh, DJ, Holly's here and all this. And they, like, just disappeared and left. And I was like, oh, this is fucking weird. And Holly's the one who drove me home because Marilee was, like, afraid to have me around her kid because I was, like, just fucked up and really didn't even know. I was on benzos at Walmart and, like, scammed them to get me fucking glasses that I couldn't pay for. You know, I hurt them and, like, just, they didn't know really the extent because I kind of went away. So, but, like, when I was using it after my mom died, all the just fucking, everything kind of came out.
Yeah.
And they started realizing, you know, my other cousin was at the house. And I don't remember this. I genuinely don't. But the way she tells it was like I was talking about basically how bad everything was and, like, what I had done and been doing. And I was shooting up and all that. And she was like, oh, my God, like, DJ needs fucking help. And, like, told the whole family. And I don't even, like, remember that. Like, I don't even remember her being at my house after my mom died. You know, they all tried to, like, help me and give me rides to outpatient. And it sounds like almost recovery, but for real, they tried to give me their time and the truth in those situations, like, the best way they could. And I just kept stealing and kept lying to them. So, yeah, I don't know. There's just, like, a lot of aspects to both, you know. I feel like there's probably some trauma there. Mm-hmm. I, unlike Julia, don't do, like, a trauma thing, you know, like a trauma therapy. I've been to, like, anger management, but never walked through or tried to more or less be in this, like, take a look into the trauma aspect. I'm just like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't even think it's that fucked up until
You really think about it.
And, like, Bruce, who was just here, right?
Yeah.
When I gave my lead, he was like, my first one, he like gave me this weird look and was like, you had a fucked up childhood, huh? And I was like, no, I don't know. Is that what you got from that? Like, that's not what it was supposed to be. Like, I don't know.
It was one of the most hardcore stories I've ever heard in my life. I told you that.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know. It doesn't even fucking seem that bad. It's just kind of weird. That's how I look at it. Like, all the fucking sexual stuff and fucking, I don't know. I don't know what's bad. I know, like, what made me feel the most was losing my parents. Like, when I lost them. That was when, like, my mom dying where she worked at St. Mary's. And everybody's like, DJ, go see your mom. Go see your mom. And I'm like, that's not my mom.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't her anymore, you know? And, like, just losing my dad, like, oh, fuck. I keep fucking doing that to this mic. And then losing my dad just, like, weird. Just get a call, boom, dad's dead. And my fucking sister, the one who's actually my sister, like, couldn't fucking tell me. She was like, Dad's gone, and just kept fucking saying, Dad's gone. I'm like, where the fuck did he go? Because my dad would, like, run off and just be all weird and go absent, and he would, like, quit using and, like, detox himself for, like, 3 fucking days, and he would be a terrible person to everybody. Or he would just disappear and to, like, prove a point he wasn't a drug addict. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like, she couldn't tell me he was dead. And that, it was weird. I had to, like, finally hear it from my other fucking sister. It's not my sister, that one. Yeah. And then, like, my Uncle Phil, who I just met, and everybody told me was already dead but was actually alive, had, like, this really good relationship with my dad. And I was like, holy fuck, it's Uncle Phil. Like, I never even met Uncle Phil. And he was, like, 76.
Yeah.
And he died sometime in July. I had just been in a fucking terrible car accident, so I was, like, super concussed at this fucking funeral, and I don't even know the date, but my uncle died right after my dad died.
Yeah.
And it just, like, sent me off the fucking edge, you know?
A lot of loss.
Yeah, like family loss, you know?
Yeah. No, and, like, in self-loss.
Well, yeah, I lost.
Like, you talk about, you know what I mean? You're like, well, wasn't that bad? You know what I mean? I feel like there's trauma is one of those things where there's, like, an erase button that happens each time. You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, a factory reset that happens in your mind with certain trauma. People talk about that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Rape victims especially, where it's like...
When I started trauma therapy and we actually went over my trauma timeline, there were so many different things that I had forgotten, or even when I talked to my therapist about it, it was so nonchalant. I was like, you know, this happened. And then the further we dug into it, I had repressed it so much that, like, I would just sob and not realizing how much it had affected me. Or even just, like, memories, you know, from some certain traumas that I've had, like with cousins and things to that nature, just, like, unlocking, going over those traumas of, like, some of the things that really stuck out to me and really, you know, cut deep, and having a secondary thought pop into my mind, something that I had totally pushed down that was even worse than that original one that I had remembered. So it really, you just push it down and you push it down and you stuff it and you stuff it. And I'm someone who, you know, jokes about it and laughs about it, because what else are you going to do? Yeah. You know, but.
Make light of a situation if you can.
Right.
Yeah. I think like more and more comes out. Like, I could keep, for real, I would keep thinking of more shit that, you know, and I was like, I almost feel like when I'm sharing in a meeting and I fucking start hearing rustling, I'm like, it's getting fucking weird. I should be quiet, you know?
Yeah.
That's like how, and then I keep thinking of more shit, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's just, there's like, just more things.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take up all the time.
Yeah, at first I had, like, no idea what to say, because I feel like I've done a lot of the erase.
Yeah.
But I like what Nick said about a lot of it being, like, self-inflicted almost. But at the same time, the more I think, I feel like my whole childhood was just a lot of mental trauma as far as just fuckery, just constant lies from everyone I ever looked up to. Like my and the death of my stepdad, who was like my hero. Real, like, to me, the greatest guy ever. Had a lot of things I didn't know about him, and it was kept from me intentionally. And I don't hold that against anybody, because, he was once I found out about his past and the things that he was dealing with. He was an addict, and when I figured that out, like, later on in life, he was an idol to me. Like, so I looked at all that stuff, and it was like, oh, well, he was the greatest person ever to me. So I followed in his footsteps in a lot of ways that were just not good. But surrounding his death, there was just, because I was 16 at the time, and I still to this day don't know exactly like what happened. Like, I think he OD'd, but it started with my mom trying to tell me that he just took too much Tylenol, and I was like, that. So, but I wanted to grasp anything to like have some sort of a understanding on this, and and I constantly, every time that I would find out, that was the thing too, was it was just like never ending for me. Every time I would come around to an understanding, I'd find something else out that would negate what I thought was real. And so it's just mental fuckery, just constantly trying to figure out how I felt about this whole situation. And I still, I just had to stop. I had to stop doing that to myself. And, so many of his things that I just kept forever. That eventually, I had to just take his picture down and that kind of thing, And I don't, like I said, I still don't know what the fuck happened. I think he OD'd, but it was also, later on I heard, because especially when you're 16, when the adults shift the conversation when you come in the room as to and they look at each other in that way where it's like, oh, don't go there. Remember, he doesn't know. And so I could pick up on all that, but I mean, I never tried calling him out on it or anything. I don't know. It was just it was just a shitty situation. And on top of that, I also think about the position that it put my dad in, because they didn't get along. They didn't really have much interaction at all, other than when he would come pick me up, and he would pretty my dad's household. It was very it was locked down. My mom came to pick me up, my stepdad, anybody came to pick me up. Nobody was coming in the house, meet in the driveway. Very much of and that was the other thing as far as mental fuckery, was the way that we would portray ourselves as a family to the outside world, and then what was really going on. So when my dad would act all cool and everything in front of other people, but then and so I never knew what to expect. So I was just always on edge and confused. And then as life went on, I don't know. I guess I say I don't, but I still have resentments on from a lot of that shit. I don't know. I feel I just started talking to my mom again after 7 years, and it's still very limited. It's just I haven't actually talked to her on the phone yet. I called her on Mother's Day. She didn't answer, and I amped myself up to call her, and I was like, all right, just do it, and I did, and then she didn't answer, and part of me was like, fuck, because now she's going to call back at the worst time, and I'm not going to want to answer it, and I got lucky. She just texted me later on and was like, hey, I saw you called, and I'm busy now, or whatever, and I was like, cool, so I get credit for the call, did that on Mother's Day, but I don't have to do it. And it sucks that it's like that, because like I used to be real close with my mom, but then that whole thing with my stepdad, it just really, like, because then she immediately like got with someone else and left town. And I don't know, I guess I felt kind of like abandoned, because like I didn't, in my dad's household, that's where I lived, but I did not feel like I literally I would come home from school and go right to my room, and because of so many arguments and everything, I didn't come out of my room unless my dad was home, because it would always be my word against my stepmom's, and he was like, I don't know what else to do. I can't believe either one of you guys, so just stay in your room. And there was like no contact. I just come in, go into my room, and that was that. There was even a time where I was like literally pissing in a bottle in my bedroom just because it was like, don't come out of your room. And then I got in trouble because she was like searching through my room while I was at school one day, and she kicked over a piss bottle. But that's, I don't know. And then, so I got real comfortable in solitude, and I'm still like that. I'm still like that. Like I feel most comfortable completely alone. I don't know. I guess I'm told it's a bad thing, but I don't know. It's I've also been told that it can be a strength. So, but at the same time, I feel weird in crowds. Like it's hard for me to feel like anybody gives a shit what I have to say. Period. I'll have a million things in my head, and I won't say anything because it's like, nobody's gonna give a shit. That was something that was kind of drilled into me, was just like, shut the fuck up. And then later on, like getting deeper into addiction and whatnot, just trauma as far as like, needles are like a huge thing for me. Something I swore I'd never do, a line in the sand, but then it was the only thing that I would ever, it didn't matter what it was. If I couldn't put it in me that way, then I had no interest in it, which turns out you can pretty much do anything that way. But I also, like, everyone around me was like, no, it was kind of, just because I like to laugh so you don't, and fill in the blank. That's what I've like laugh so you don't cry, laugh so you don't freak out, laugh so it just, no matter what, it's always the better alternative in my eyes. So when I decided like I wanted to, I wasn't getting enough and I wanted to do it a different way and everything, anybody who was using needles around me, I was like, show me. And they were like, no, you don't want to do this. And I was like, yeah, no, now I really want to do this kind of thing. Like, you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do. Yeah. And so it may seem pretty straightforward as to how you do it, but I fucked it up a lot. I've got scars all over my arms from it. Like a lot of people think like my scars and shit are from picking. That was never my thing. But I would literally just pump a whole missed shot into my arm, and then it would like create a crater, just eating away at me, and that like caused a lot of, I don't know, just like compounded the self-hate and feeling very much a slave to something, because it was nothing. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but no matter what, I would always, for the longest, just find myself shut up in the attic, shutting my family out, my wife and kids downstairs, leave me alone, sweating my ass off in the attic in the middle of the summer. It's very vivid to me. And just like trying to just fucking myself up. And no matter what, like I had to do it for some reason. And then of course, because like I used with my wife, but she didn't get into doing things that way. And so then it was like, I got very comfortable being the worst one, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know how we got to that, but.
You ever, you're like consciously aware of what you're doing, but you have to do it anyways.
Right.
You ever be obsessed to use, get the works, do it, and then immediately feel guilty for all the things you had to do to fucking get it in the first place? Like, when you were fucking high, now the competence, right now you're almost like right.
For me, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
When I was high, I none of that bothered me. It was after I'd come down.
See, when I was in the chase, I didn't care. I had to have it. The ends justified the means. But then as soon as I used, I would have that clarity. Because a lot of times, man, I was just scrape around a couple bucks. So it was like just enough to get me off sick, to be thinking clearly, to not be, sweating and shitting myself. And then I would use and be like, I hate this life. I hate that I have to fucking do all these terrible things just to feel normal. It's like a huge piece of it. I can relate to what you were saying just about
For me, it
being
was
up in the attic and
like,
isolating and almost
Yeah.
living this double life and all the lines we crossed. The self-betrayal.
yeah, and like
The
you say
degradation.
double life. Like at the same time, I'm the stay-at-home dad. I'm taking my kids to the bus, getting them from the bus, having because like my younger daughter needed additional help for school and whatnot. So having like the behavioral, I forget what the hell it was called, but anyways, they'd come to the house, and I legit had these people that were coming to the house being like, you're doing great. Like, I don't know what else to tell you to help. I think what you're doing is right on. And because I would stage the house and everything had to be perfect. And, meanwhile, if it was the wrong time when they showed up, I'm trying not to seem like, I'm like inside just like ready to explode because I don't know if that guy that said he was going to come 4 hours ago and suddenly come, he might knock on the door. What am I going to do then? That kind of thing. And, yeah, very much a double life. And I guess right from childhood, it was just like the most comfortable thing. I was used to a double life. Everything had to seem a certain way, but it really wasn't, to the point where I drove myself, like I had a lot harder time with things because I focused on, like I would envy the people that would just not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like I would be so envious of that, and I was just like, they are just owning this. But to me, it was like I still had to put on that front to a stranger. It didn't matter.
So shameful.
Like,
right?
yeah, like middle of the summer, my arms are all fucked up, and from what I was just talking about, and I went out and bought like the sleeves like you would wear playing basketball, and wore Jordans and basketball shorts and shit to make it seem like
Under Armour.
Yeah, like to act like I just got done playing, but I didn't even own a basketball. But I would walk to the store like that just to try to like fool any stranger even, you know what I mean? Like I'm different. I would, for the longest time, I wouldn't go buy my own rigs. I would always have somebody else do it until finally people were like, dude, why don't you just go fucking buy them? This is like a big hassle. Why do you need me to do this? I'm like, you know what? You're right. So I started doing that. But then even still, I would walk to the store with my daughter in the stroller to go buy these. And like my daughter, she's obviously adorable little kid, and the ladies behind the counter knew what was up as soon as I walked in there, because I would go in there every single day and like try to change their mind about drug addicts. Like I can be a good dad still and shoot meth. Like just totally delusional. But I was delusional, focusing on building an illusion for other people to see.
A rapport.
Too. Yeah.
I didn't have I did not have that ability or like thought to be like, I'm going to hide this. But I would just lie. I would lie all the fucking time. Like I went there to go buy needles and was like, I didn't have fucking long sleeves on or fucking basketball thing. And it was just like, I was insisting that it was for my dog Cody, who had diabetes. Which was true.
At first I went in with
but he died 7 years ago.
My grandma ran out of her insulin needles.
Yep.
you know, and pretending I'm on the phone with her, like, what? I don't know. She said,
Which
she
ones
needed
do I
the
get? Yeah.
31, you know.
I did the same
you know,
thing. I'd like purposely act ignorant to what I was purchasing. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you guys got, I don't know.
The ones that you use.
Just let me
for-
see them. I know what they look like.
Yeah.
And they bring up like 4 different size rigs, and I'm like, oh, those are the ones.
Yeah.
Those right there. Thanks.
And
I was
I
like so presentable too. Like it was like what you said. Like it was because my parents are like really well to do. You know, well known in the community. Everywhere we went, they fucking knew somebody. You know what I mean? Now I'm turning to my fucking parents because I know everybody everywhere I go. Somebody. But so like, dude, you had to be careful because like my mom picked up prescriptions regularly from Rite Aid. She like went to school with fucking half the people in town that worked at any department store anywhere in town. You know what I mean? Like we just ran into people all the time, and people like, you know, it was constant. Still putting off that persona, you know.
yeah.
The lie.
That was a full-time fucking job,
The
dude.
big lie.
I was just a lie.
And,
Yeah.
and I remember too, because Rite Aid would like try to make you, like they would say, oh, we're waiting on the truck. Like where I'm from anyways, they would be like, if they had an idea about you, either they would hand you go in for a box of Sudafed and they would hand you the one that literally says on it meth deterrent. Like you can't, like the sinus and stuff that like can't do anything with, and be like, the truck's gonna come in tomorrow and shit like that. And but you know they had it, or they would say that they were out of the insulin needles or whatever. But so I started going to Walgreens, and there it was like they would only open one box at a time, and it was the size that it was. But then I would get in good with the people, and I'd be like, oh, and they would let me, you know, pick another box to open, and just shit that was like such a big deal to me. I'm like, yeah, I got a rapport. They let me pick which ones to open. Like that was
They let me pick which fucking gun to put the bullet in
yeah.
to fucking
Yeah.
shoot myself.
Yep.
It's crazy just listening to this shit because I was not on that side of the fence.
Me neither.
You know, I was a speed junkie. I was a coke dude. You know what I mean? Any upper didn't get into meth. You know what I mean? Ended up.
Well, I totally misunderstood when you said speed junkie.
yeah, I guess I guess you're right. But but it's like, you know, and I guess that's like another lie. It's just like I never saw myself as that bad because I was. I mean, the last 3 months of my addiction that brought me to my knees, I was smoking crack. Right, like the last line in the sand for me. You know what I mean? Before I got clean. And it was, you know, I always told myself I'm not doing that bad. You know, it's not that bad. Even knowing, though, that, like, never had anything.
Yeah, it was pretty easy for me to, like, I knew I was, but at the same time, like, when you look at yourself looking like shit in the mirror, well, before you take all the mirrors down, but I mean, like, let's face it, like, there was no way I tried to avoid looking in mirrors unless I knew that I was going to have to face somebody that knew me, and I had to try to make myself look presentable. But the longer that because this was meth, I picked it up, and it was over 6 years. It was just a nonstop run, and it only took me a year to start using the needle. And so over like years of time looking at yourself looking like shit, you start to forget what you looked like when you look good, because I'll be damned if I'm looking at a picture of myself like when I was doing well. You know, so it like your reference point slowly fades away. And then so now that like I've gotten clean, and I look back like at Christmas pictures for which was like a few months before I got clean, and dude, it's just
The one you showed.
oh my
showed me.
god, yeah,
It's
like
haunting.
it really is. Like, and I spent so much time trying because I knew I was going to a family dinner, and I knew there was going to be money in the cards. I got to show face, you know. I got to be there. I can't just. And we all took a picture, and dude, it's.
I need to
just-
see this picture.
It's bad.
Because it's, well, and that's like the thing is I look at you, David, and I mean, I don't think I saw you when you first came in, you know what I mean? Because, you know, there's a lot of people and You know what I mean? I really just saw you as you started kind of probably coming back to life. So you didn't look that bad, but you're so reserved and you're quiet. You know what I mean? But you emote like confidence through being quiet. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those things.
You do.
Yeah, and it's and so I was just like, and so that, like the saying goes, it's like I couldn't even tell that you were an addict. You know what I mean? Whenever you like, and it's just it's like an understanding thing. It's like, yeah, I know why you're here. You know what I mean? I know why, you know, this is life for you and everything. And but at the same time, it's just like so hard. You know,
To picture you like that.
Yeah, a part of you doesn't want to see it. You know what I mean? Doesn't want to see what we were like back there or out there.
I have to look at it,
Me too.
to be honest, like, because I can easily forget.
Yeah.
Not forget, but
You have to remind yourself. You
Yeah,
have to like
yeah.
Perspective.
almost
Perspective is
forcefully.
everything.
Yep.
Because-
yeah, my dude, it's looking at a picture is like, dude, I have like a real crazy memory, and I have a visual memory, you know, and I remember just looking at the size of my wrist compared to my forearm. You know what I mean? And there was no difference. Oh my God.
Can I see?
Jesus.
Wow.
yeah, and
Now,
that
let's pass it all around.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
yeah, and that was like I took like 2 hours getting ready, like doing whatever I could.
Dude,
to
that
try
was
to-
the best you could do.
best I could do.
I'm excited to see.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
unrecognizable.
I've seen so many pictures of.
Yeah,
I've seen
That's
so
the
many.
worst one I've ever seen.
That's
I'm
tough to
sorry.
look at.
See,
I'm cool with that because it really helps me. It does. It's like
Bert, sit the fuck down. You see it after the show.
like if you
Yeah,
were
Bert.
if
Don't want you bumping no
Because-
cameras.
because what really fucked me up was when I sent it to my sponsor and he was like, "That's not that bad."
I was
like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
I was hoping you would say that. I was gonna say something, but I was like, I won't say it unless you did. Yeah, I was thinking that.
yeah.
That's not that
He's
bad.
like,
He's
"Oh,
like,
that's
oh,
not that
that's
bad."
fucking nuts.
What a dog.
I have a friend who's in jail for the rest of his life now for committing a murder high, but he was clean. You guys know who he is. I'm not going to drop his name. He had something similar to that, and he would show it off. He would show you, and he'd be like, "Look at the difference," and I'd be like, "My God, haunting." Like that's a haunting photo.
It is.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
And go ahead.
I was. Just, did you ever see Ryan's?
Yes,
Oh,
Ri-
dude.
Ri-
I think so. I mean, I've seen a couple of his pictures.
Ryan's was the craziest I've ever fucking seen.
Dude,
I've
what-
ever fucking
dude,
seen.
so I was here the first day he came. Were you there too?
Yeah,
During the
bro,
when we sat down.
I
with
drove him. I drove him to the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, when we sat down with him,
Yeah.
bro. I'm not even joking because it was the fucking wildest thing. It was like after a year, whenever like he was celebrating and stuff, and I was like, and I thought because somebody said it, and I thought back, and I didn't connect that they were the same person. You know what I mean? Because like you go through so many, you see
Yeah.
so many things, you have so many sit downs, right?
Right.
And I was just like, in my mental imagery, I was like, that was a fucking child. That was a fucking malnourished child that came in here who looked like a goddamn broomstick. Like his head was like the biggest part of his body. And
Like
it
an
was
alien,
yeah,
everybody
and it
says that
was
looks
like
like an alien.
and it was like the weirdest thing. And I was thinking back on that, and I was like,
That dude put on 100 pounds.
Easy.
Like not
Easy.
it's not like a joke. Like I'll put on 100.
straight 100 pounds.
He says like 130, and it's almost just impractical to even believe. But
He's a tall kid.
Yeah.
But if you see the picture, and then you saw him, and like I literally
just the
call each other
just
fat
the,
ass
just
to,
the,
like,
the
jump
difference
on the scale.
of the difference of width. You know what I mean? Like where you're like his shoulders, and but it.
And it was like 3 days before he came here. And like I remember what he was wearing when he came in. When he shared it, Jeff or when he shared at the meeting, like, dude, I remember exactly what he was wearing. Yeah.
Well,
Fucking miss.
And what's
Oh,
really
well-
crazy, sorry, I still had people
Fooled.
fooled
fooled. Yeah.
somehow.
Well, and that's the people want to see what they want to see.
Yeah, I think
You
that's
know,
a big part of it too.
And,
Yeah, for sure.
and that's you get emotions wrapped up into things, and people don't want to see that. I mean, I remember just my mom asking me, what the fuck? Why do you do this? I know you're a good person, and just like, fuck, and she wouldn't, and I would tell her what the fuck I was doing, and she's like, oh no, you're okay though, you know what I mean? And it's just still though, like still, it's not that bad. And then, but like, we were talking about trauma when we went around the room, and like, it's one of those things like I hate talking about because I get emotional and shit, but yeah, like I, much like Dave, like I fucking, I was touched when I was a kid, and it, by a neighbor and shit, and I don't know, after that point, it was like everything was a lie, It was just a lie after a lie after a lie, and at first it was like, I didn't want to be the person I was, and I didn't want to like go through the, have to see people not having the. I went through years of not saying anything, years, 10 years, and always periodically going back and thinking about it, you know what I mean, and just running, trying to be interesting. You know what I mean? Trying to be the center of attention, trying to be loved, trying to have friends, and just the savagery of elementary school and middle school, and losing friends, and loss and rejection, and being short, and then lies, and then lying, and then everybody knowing that I'm a liar. And continuing to lie, and the trauma of lies. The first act, the first thing that happened, stole something from me.
Yes.
And I felt like there was a justification for every lie that I made, and I never found out who I was in that period. I never felt confident in doing anything that I did. Anytime I started getting good at something, I always thought, like, one day I'm going to have to grow up. And I'm going to have to be accountable for the things that had happened to me and that I was running so fast from and so hard from. And I was always trying to be somebody. That, like, reoccurring thing in my life was like I was always trying to be somebody I wasn't, and doing that through lies and manipulation, and it wasn't, I just, you get to a point in that life and you're like, what the fuck? Some lies that you create in your mind, like you start to believe in over a long enough period of time, and that's fucking terrifying. Like going back through that. And like really finding out who I am in a lot of ways, that was like traumatic, because like I did that thinking back shit when I was an addict, because I didn't have anything else to do. I just sat in rooms, fucking. Whenever the dream would leave me, where it was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then I'd realize, like, none of that shit's going to happen, because I'm going to have to, like, fucking chase X, Y, and Z to get what I want.
And that's where exactly, like, we refer to addiction in, like, in another person, but that's where addiction wanted you.
Yeah.
Retracing those steps, being caught up in that damage and the trauma.
And
Because then you could push through, because once you want to use,
yeah.
And
I remember vividly the everybody else having fun thing. everybody else having fun, everybody else enjoying themselves. In the moments like the parties and all that sort of shit, and me just being fucking in a room full of people and me being completely fucking alone, completely in my head, completely obsessed. Nothing was fucking enough, and I don't understand why these people don't understand that nothing's fucking enough for me, you know, and just getting so fucking irritated, you know, and it's, and I just drove so many people away, good fucking people to me, good friends, people that I'd fucking, you know, I'd do anything for, you know, because they cared for me and loved me, and I don't even fucking know those people anymore. That's the shit that really fucks me up, you know, because I'm like, you know, like a part of me really hopes that like this outlet for some reason will just like these people will come back, you know what I mean? Which is strange and like fucked up, but
It's not. I get that.
yeah, like, cause like I had like, you know what I mean? I had fucking really, really good people in my life, and I ran from them. You know what I mean? Where they figured out who I was and what I was doing, and I just fucking peeled. You know, where I made a fucking crazy shit, and I try to put them in, like, we're addicts. We try to make other people be wrong so we can be right, so that we can go and close that door or whatever. And so we can feel good inside and justified for our actions and what we do, because it's not our problem. It was their problem. They were wrong. And just thinking about how much I did that and how much that fucking sucks, you know, really. And just trying to think about like what the fuck they thought, you know, like he was such a happy guy and all this stuff. And we did all this cool shit, and you know, he came up, he showed up, and he came with my family, you know, summer after summer to this thing, and then one fucking day, I just asked him a question, and he fucking grilled the shit out of me and fucking pointed out all my defects that are, like, not really defects, and just fucking left, you know? And then I would see him periodically, you know, shit on Facebook, or people would tell me, like, what the fuck is really going on with him. And I don't want to fucking know him. You know what I mean? Because I know where he's, like, just shit like that I think about. I'm like, holy fuck, man. And it all, like, you know, like what Julia said, it stems back from that fucking first thing where I'm like, you know, constantly really, like, I was running from that for a long time. And then I weaponized it for a period, you know, where I just, like, when it got really bad and I ran out of excuses for why I did the things that I did, that I just brought that out of the fucking war chest and dropped that on my parents, you know? And it was just like a fucking, like a nuke. I was just trying to, like, end all be all it, this is why sort of thing, but this is why I was already way too late. You know what I mean? It was just like fucking the damage had been done. The ship was fucking sinking, right? And I don't need your fucking help. You know, and this is your fault, like I did before, like I did time and time again, you know, just fucking throw it in other people's faces. Oh, you never noticed this and all this shit, right? And
You didn't care anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, I don't know. I think trauma is like a real, dude, just the craziest shit, bro. And it's like, it irks me to think about the amount of lies that I made. And it irks me the amount of, like, how I still, just because I did it so much, I have to fucking bite my tongue when I'm talking to somebody sometimes because I can feel it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that was an interesting story lie thing that I told fucking 800 times to people to get sympathy or to get this or to get that, and it's just coming up. It just, you want to fucking say it, you know what I mean? And just like, and just realizing how fucking fucked I am sometimes, and how deep this shit is, and like why it's so important. Like, and I'm, you know, trauma's fucked. There's no easy way around that. Like, you know, I've never been in war, right? but it's the closest thing I can equate to it. You know, it's just trauma is just one of those things where you're, you know, you carry it around with you day to day and every day. And
This is why fourth is important.
yeah.
You know, I kind of had, sorry, are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
I kind of had an epiphany as you were talking when you said how we can like repeat lies to ourselves and we kind of like believe that. I think you meant it in a different way. However, I kind of just had a thought of I've always had this thing where when I have interactions with men, where the first thought is I'm always just a fuckhole, right? And I'm gonna take this back to. So, you know, I too was touched. And I think back to like all those things and, you know, what she would say and just like things to keep me quiet. Yeah. You know, like if you say anything, your mom will not love you. If you say anything, no one will believe you. You know, your mom won't, just all of these things. But how I internalized, like, what had happened to me and all of the things that, like, I had done just growing up as a result of that situation that happened over a period of years, how I internalized that that was what I was good for. And how as I just got older, and you learn more things and how it becomes like acceptable of, you know, like your teenagers and the, you know, and how every time I would have an interaction with a man, the follow-up would be, that's all I'm good for. Mm-hmm. And how that just came from that what had happened to me and how it really just transpired all my life. 'Cause even now, I can turn it into, well, that's all I'm good for. You know, that's what my value is. Yeah. Because that's what my value was, you know, and how it just kind of like, man, made me spiral. I'm like sitting here, I'm like spiraling, you know. That was just like crazy for me to kind of relive and think about those. That's not something I had thought about. And made the connection?
Well, yeah, there's like the, you know, I don't know, I've never been like very sexual. You know, I mean, I've always been highly repressed in that facet of my life for long durations of time. Like, it's just, in a way, like, much like usually, like, my thing is, like, it's really my action is, like, just to make the other person happy. You know? And I don't know if that's, like, for me, like, I'm an addict now, and it's, like, I actually want my end of it, you know, because I want to fill that void inside of me. I want the, like, the happiness and the emotion and the serotonin and dopamine release or whatever, right? So that's changed significantly, but for like the longest time, it's just like I just want to make somebody else happy, you know. That's what. And then I want to leave, and I want to use. You know what I mean? I want to go sit alone somewhere. I want to like go to the top of a mountain. I want to fucking, you know.
There's obviously a huge sense of like validation that comes with being desired. Yeah, and I think that's. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because it fills multiple parts like that. Like, I need to be desired. Like, that's confirming that I am wanted. But it's also just kind of everything that you do to, like, doing the unwanted, like, you don't want to do it, but you do it because you want to make that person happy, is just reliving that trauma. Yeah. You know, just over and over and over again. Because and there's so many levels and layers to it, like the no one, you know, I didn't feel wanted, or like that's all I was good for, or this will make them happy. It's so many different factors. It's not just like, you know, it's all of it.
Yeah.
I was hearing you talk, Andrew, and it's like so different for me. You know, like I always, you guys, like, I make a joke about something, and I'm just not even going to say it because it'll sound like I'm trying to be a joke. I know, like, that definitely plays a part into, like, how I am sexually with, like, there's nothing about me that's, like, it's not about not doing it, and it is about having sex. And I don't know what the reasons are. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's not something. It's just different for me, and you know, I don't know. Maybe just the weirdness with like cousins and that stuff. But I think it almost created like a hyperactivity.
It made me hypersexual as well.
Yeah, it was not like.
Well, I didn't feel good.
I understand, and I understand, and we've spoke. So like I can understand why.
Yeah.
It's. That's not me, and I've like been trying to think about it. These are things like I don't have like answers or really even things that like I've dug into specific situations. Mm-hmm. I kind of I make jokes about things, and I guess we could say it's like to deal with it, but I don't fucking deal with it. I don't like ever have a real look. I'm not like. I don't know how to explain it. There's just a lot more work that could be done to maybe actually like the root cause or like why or how this affects me, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I don't do those things. Like there's just a lot of work that I could put forth and I don't.
I think that would be huge for your aggression.
Mm.
I think my aggression has drastically calmed. I really do.
I see. I haven't seen that part of you. I think since obviously before that, but like really when I saw it was whenever we were living in the same house. Okay. And I would see the explosiveness and
sorry.
And it was one of those things, Dave, we're so different on that aspect where it's like your aggression in that stance is like me. I'm not that. I'm not strong and I'm not aggressive.
Do you shut down?
Oh, dude. I walk away. You know what I mean? I don't make direct eye contact. And that's why it's so, like, it was so important for me to do extreme shit to compensate, you know, where I was like, I'm going to snowboard and surf and play paintball and rappel and you know, cook and do all these other things because I'm not that, you know. I have to feel confident in something, so it's got to be my skill set, you know. It can't be like me approaching somebody and telling them, you know, go fuck yourself, and like getting in like a fucking argument. I would only do that to people that I knew they would never do anything back.
I see. And I was thinking, like, earlier when you were talking, like, about the, you know, being at parties and feeling this crazy. It's always funny because people think, like, I'm this fucking, like, I was just a fucking crazy person. I can't even tell you, this, all that stuff, it comes from, and I don't say this to be funny, but, like, I have fucking dad issues. Like, for real, the way that my dad... I have, like, all these weird fucking core principles and just, like, about that altercation stuff and just arguments and fights. It was, like, it was instilled by my dad, and like, I am very much, that's what people tell me all the time, like, I'm exactly like my dad. My mannerisms, like, my kind of fucking bullshit that is just this fucking jovial guy that most people like. For real, and it's not like, oh, I say that. It's just I kind of put on this thing that I like. I want you to like me. I want everybody to be like, oh, he's this jovial, happy guy. That I put that on, but like, you can't be a pussy. Like, that's what my dad was, you know. Mm-hmm. You just couldn't. And he was this. I don't know, man. My dad was so fucking crazy. I'm so similar like him. And when it comes to those parties, I was so fucking anxious. I remember walking into Tony's fucking birthday and everybody was like, Dave, this whole fucking house is Joey's place. And I felt so cool, but yet I'm like, holy fuck. You know, that's all everything I did was like a show so that people would like think I'm cool. And I was never the one. Like, it's funny, like when you say that, you know, you had to do crazy shit. I had to like be crazy in the moments that I could control because I didn't want to do the crazy shit. I didn't want to like repel or do dumb shit like go on roller coasters, right? I was petrified of fucking roller coasters. So like, I would just have this fucking crazy personality to like keep me from doing the things that really freaked me out, but then I knew I was all in my head about that I had to be this way to not do those things, but if I don't do those things, I'm a pussy, so like I have to be this other way. And it was just, I don't know, there's just convoluted fucking weird fakeness all the time.
Yeah.
But then that's kind of how I am, so like I don't know if it's all fake or if it's just I did it to control because of those situations, you know what I mean? It was just, I don't know. I was the same in the mindset. My just actions may have been different.
Yeah.
But it was all for the same end game, which was like control of the situation and to like feel cool, which I could, or like to be like, which I could do. You know what I mean? But man, it was just, I don't know. I was thinking that same thing. Like, just that fucking anxiety I would have. Dude, I did so much shit. I hated drinking. I chugged shit. Just people would chant my name.
Yeah.
Like,
I hated
it.
I hated it. I hated every aspect of it. And there was nothing that took me into a darker fucking hole than drinking.
Me too.
You know, and it would just fucking, and it was because it was the bottomless pit. You know, I would just drink, get in my feelings, drink, get in my feelings, drink, get in my feelings. And I knew that I needed something else. I knew what I needed, right? And it was just so short-lived. And it was just like that whole period of my life was so fucking sad, where it's like I would pretend to listen to you. You know, you ever do that? Where I was just pretending to like, oh yeah, yeah. And the whole time I'm like, I can't wait for this motherfucker to just turn around or like think of something else or fucking, or like me come up with an excuse right now, but I'm just so fucking hemmed up and jacked that like I can't even do that, right? So I'm going to listen, and then I'm just going to talk for like a fucking hour, and I'm going to realize I hate what the fuck I'm saying because I'm out of my mind, and I'm just saying crazy shit. And it's like, if you fed into that at all, if you were like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? I love what you're saying. I would just keep fucking going. And at the end of the night, I said, I'm a fucking piece of shit. And I would just sit there. I'm like, why the fuck do I do this to myself? I'm not, like, all the shit that I said I don't believe in. And I was just fucking talking because I was ramped up. And I'm insane. You know?
You felt bad about it though? Like,
What?
you thought about those? Like, I wasn't like that. Like, I've said this before. Like, there are moments in addiction that I was so honest at my dad's funeral. My dad's funeral, I was so fucking honest, and I did not feel bad for what I said. I said to one of my cousins who was directly involved with some weirdness, shall I say, and it was like, I'm so sad that, you know, Uncle Dave's dead and all, and I was like, you fucking bitch, it should be your fucking dad in there. Don't think that I'll ever be fucking fake to you. And when he dies, I won't ever come to his funeral. I won't cry and fucking lie to you. I'll fucking tell you, good. And I'll piss on his grave with everyone around. And like, I meant it. I was honest. And it was the truth. Did not need to be said. But it was the fucking absolute truth. And like, I just honestly, like, I don't feel bad about it now. Yeah. Maybe that's a shitty thing, but like, whatever. There are moments that like I was honest. I think, and I've said this before, I think honesty changes. Like, in that moment, it was honest and how I still feel, but I don't know. I didn't need to say it. Like, I shouldn't have said that, you know? I was with someone and like decided to be vulnerable and tell her I had this problem, and I'll like never forget her like smacking me, trying to like take my shit, and I clenched it in my hands. And it was in my wallet. I was like, what do you think I just did while you were at fucking Walmart? I told you to go in there for a reason. Like, and it was this huge thing, and I was like, looked directly at her and was like, she's like, you gotta choose, and she's like smacking me, being all dramatic, trying to grab it, and I'm like holding it and clutching it, and I'm like, it's in my wallet, and I'm like, I will never choose you over this. That was fucking some of the most honest shit I ever fucking said while I was using, you know?
Yeah.
Something I just want to. Sorry.
No, I'm done. That was my little rant.
Something, and then now it's gonna feel like we're kind of backtracking, but it was like a realization that I had, which is why I love doing this. Mm-hmm. You know, I love, like, I hate it. I'm never I never want to talk, right? But when I do, I feel like, even when I'm sharing in a meeting, and I know what you're talking about, where it's like it gets weird and people start shuffling and shit. But you really feel like you're breaking through on some shit. And you didn't even know what you were going to say when you started talking, but somehow just what needed to come out and what you needed to realize is just happening. And I feel like a lot of the things that I did in life were, well, one, I got tired of, first I was very comfortable being a victim. Like, I loved being a victim. I loved having a reason for people to feel bad for me and excuse my actions. But then it came to a point where I was like, I'm done being a victim. Made it, and then in my head I was like, it justified me victimizing other people. But I think the biggest thing for me was that it was trying to, doing whatever it took so that whatever was bothering me felt like a normal thing that wouldn't bother me anymore. Whether it was, death, right? We all know dozens of people who have died, you know, like, and how that just became, like, when I was getting high, like, I would be like, damn, like, that sucks, like, they're gone, but at the same time, like, things like people, you know, turning gray in front of me, and people throwing ice on them and taking their shit before the ambulance got there and just disappearing and all that shit was all normal to me. And so death was always so close that it was normal now. And it didn't bother me anymore to think about the death that fucked with me before, because I was just being a pussy, and this is a normal part of everyday life. And like, almost like, so if anybody else felt any different, well, that's their problem that they got to figure out now. You know? Like, for real, just everything that, like, and I went, like, for the longest time, I would run towards whatever scared the shit out of me, which isn't normal.
Really?
Like, yeah, like, so, like, going to jail, right? The idea, like, I didn't know anything about, like, I used to watch, like, Lock Up and shit, right? They had, like, the 24 hours get locked up on Sunday and marathon, and I would sit and watch all these, like, prison documentaries and whatnot and try to, like, feel like I had an understanding of shit. But then I had to get completely just I was blacking out on a regular basis at this point, but to where, like, nothing fazed me, and go to jail. And I was scared shitless. I didn't know what to expect. And that was where, like, staying silent, I found, like, as I was there and I just minded my own business, I didn't run my mouth, shit like that. And I realized, like, I got to start seeing other people's view of me when I didn't really give them any words to go off of, you know? Find out that, like, I was terrified, but nobody knew that because I just kept it cool. Like, you know, and so then it became to where I was going in my life with getting high terrified me. So I kept running with it. Now, eventually it came to where getting clean terrified me. But I think where I was going with things, like I was convinced, like on a regular, daily basis, like nothing mattered. I'm going to be dead anyways.
That's how I thought.
Was just where I was at. And so getting clean, it went from like scaring me to just being impossible. It was like when I went to rehab, and also like so we were talking about putting out this image and trying to fool everybody and all that shit, and everything that I was working so hard to maintain and protect, like, so my kids, having a house to live, an apartment to live in, all these things. Eventually, it all comes crashing down. You know, I somehow always managed to figure shit out for years, to where it was like, I'm still like, we still have a place to live, we still have food. You know, the kids have food to eat. I wasn't really eating, but the kids have food to eat. They go to school, like, you know, all these things that it just validated that I was doing all right, and in my head. And eventually it came to the point where, because I remember, and it's terrible, but I remember wishing like that I could just have someone that would give my kids a good life, come and take them, and it would be all good, and I could just keep getting high. Nobody would be in my way. I could live that shameless, like,
existence.
Yeah, like have no worry about it, just own it, and just be a roaming piece of shit, and nobody, you know, no image to uphold, because that was like the biggest stress on me. I felt like was just, it wasn't always what I was doing. It was doing that and trying to maintain this image.
I don't want to like cut you off, but I feel like that's like something that we all wanted, you know, deeply, because I remember leaving my parents' place and just knowing that, like, no plan, had no idea where I was going or what I was going to do, and I knew that the plan and the idea that I had was an illusion because I'd done that so many times, right? And I was like, I'm going to be free.
Yeah, and
you know, I'm going, and I was homeless on the front side of Mount Washington. I was, you know, making shelters and stuff, and I said, I'm free now.
Yeah, I felt that too. Like, I had, part of me, like, deep down knew. I feel like I was almost like I wanted to get rid of my ex, because I could still play the blame game. Like, oh, if my wife wasn't here trying to talk sense into me, saying that what I'm doing is fucking crazy, you know, in the chase and my big plan and stealing catalytic converters and all this shit, if she wasn't in my way trying to stop me or blowing up my phone every moment that I was away, I would be able to just do this and it would all be fine. And there was actually a time where we got into a huge fight. She took the kids and left. And it was the second day in a row that had kind of happened, and as soon as she was at the end of the street, I was sick as shit too, but I was like, I'm gonna make shit happen. I got up, I got on my bike, I packed my backpack full of dumb shit to try to trade, and you know, I rode my bike 2 towns away.
Off into the sunset.
To the trap house. I was going to make shit happen. And that's not what happened at all. I was, you know, I disappeared for 3 days. She had no idea where I was. And it's sick too, because like I was bumping into people that were living, like, because we lived in a duplex, and I would see the people who lived on the other side while she's like searching for me. And I would see them, like, at the dope man's house, And we were just acting like nothing's going on. Meanwhile, she's like freaking out, has no idea where I am, and they go back home right next door and don't tell her anything. And I was just out there, I was convinced I was going to be able to make shit happen. And you know what?
The lie.
It didn't happen. And in that, because of that, she ended up like reaching out to my aunt, who was like one person I would never let close enough to see what the fuck was going on. And next thing you know, she's involved. She's no dummy. She knows what the fuck is going on. The kids are with her. And I'm like, now I'm blaming her. Like, why did you talk to her? Because now she's involved. And it's like, you know, this big thing. And the kids were gone. Then she was gone. And it was just me. And all my excuses were gone. And it lasted about a week of me just literally driving myself insane. And like all my shit was, I was beat down. I couldn't, I was breaking into the house that we were living in to be able to sleep there. And ended up, you know, falling asleep on a park bench, waiting for somebody, and woke up and somehow, for I don't know what it was, I was low enough to where I was like, I walked to my grandma's house. So, you know, I avoided her at all costs too. Can't let her see what's going on. I just walked there, and I still tried to, I still tried to put on an act, but knowing that she would see right through it, but I still didn't have to be like honest with her. And, you know, next thing I know, then my aunt's coming over and they're calling rehab and all this shit. And thank God they couldn't get me in that day. And I knew my grandma wasn't going to let me sleep there. So I got to go back out that night. And anyways, at that point, I remember like I went to rehab to try to find the desire to get clean. I had no desire to, and I knew that. And I remembered a time where I used to battle with myself on wanting to, and then eventually I was just able to shut that off, and this is what I am.
Yeah.
And
that's like that's the craziest thing. Like, I didn't want to cut you off either, dude, but when I was coming out here, all right, it was like this, like I made the call to come here, but it wasn't time. Like, I was like, oh, I'm still okay. I can figure this out. I can do this. I can do that. Fighting for the, like, you know, not to make that decision, because there was this overwhelming feeling that once I take this ticket onto this ride, something different is going to happen to me. And there was a part of me that didn't want to change. I didn't want to face myself. I didn't want to see, you know what I mean? I didn't want to go through the truth. I didn't want to hear the truth. And it was just how they described it to me. Oh, you're going to this place. It's really hardcore. And like, I'm being told this by my sister's best friend, who, you know, was a junkie, went to 20 different rehabs and went to this place and, you know, got 2 years clean. And she's telling me this stuff. Like, oh, you're going to have to, you know, do these things or whatever. And I was like, I don't know if I want this yet. You know, I don't know if I want to do this yet. And then when I made the call, they were like, yep, we'll be getting you at 8 o'clock tonight. I was just like, I don't know where this is going to go. But this is like the start. Like, this is the start of my life. This is fine. Like, I was just so fucking, just fucking relaxed. Finally, after like years of just not being relaxed, being completely consumed, completely terrified, just hoping to God that I would never, like, I'd actually have somebody in my life. I'd still have somebody in my life. And when it was like my parents just told me not to fucking, I can't go back home, and to not call them again. And I was like truly alone. I didn't last like an hour in that state. I said, I need somebody to fucking, I can't do this. You know what I mean? I know where I'm going to go. I was just there. I know what's going to happen. It's just like, I can't do this. And like you said, like, just at least searching, you know, beginning the journey to like start being clean, like
To even want to be.
yeah, to want
Like,
it,
that
like
was-
just because I knew, like you look back and you know what's happening. You know what's gonna happen if you keep doing the same thing. And it was just like clear. It was clear to me in that point of clarity. And then it happened again. You know what I mean? And then just like I had the affirmation, right, of like, you know, which I think I said on this already, was just like the sitting in the woods thing, like just sitting there and just being like, I know where this ride goes. I know what's happening. But just like thank God for that shit, right? You know?
Yeah. And like earlier on in life too, like I had, when drinking and benzos put me in jail. Well, you know what I'm saying. I had lost everything. Restraining order, wife and kid. Only had one kid at the time, but couldn't talk to either one of them. And that's when I was sitting in jail. And until that point in life, I was able to talk my way out of every situation. But there was no talking my way out of that one. Mom wasn't going to get me a lawyer. No one was going to bail me out. I was stuck, and it was the best thing for me. And that's the craziest thing to say, but like that was the first time that I felt I felt freedom for the first time in jail. Because one, there's no responsibility. What are you going to do? You can't do anything unless somebody puts some money on the phone to call them and talk to them and arrange all this. Your hands are tied. You literally can't do anything. And mind you, I spent the first 3 months out of the year that I was there just trying everything. Wrote 100 letters that I was waiting to send. Luckily, there was a guy that was there that also had the restraining order that was still like on hit with his girl, and he was still like trying to call her from the phone. And I saw the cops bringing him new charges on a regular basis, and I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy, you know. And well, then I ended up getting well. Because my big thing was, I was like, I'm never going to take 5 years of felony probation, because it was either a year in jail or 5 years of felony probation, and I knew I'd never last on probation. So I always told my wife, I was like, I'm going to take jail time if that's what it is, because I'm not going to Well, so I figured that it would show her how much I cared and was willing to change if I took probation. That would just speak volume, right? It was a couple days before Christmas. I went to court, and I was like, yeah, 5 years felony probation, I'll take that. Got out, got all fucked up, contacted her. She wasn't having it. I thought I was going to meet her, and I went, and I was really meeting the cops.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, because I don't really normally say that, because I don't like to paint her in a bad light, but it was well deserved. It wasn't.
That's not a bad. Yeah, that's not a bad light even.
Bye, Felicia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, that's
what
when
do you do? I mean,
that's when I was like,
broke.
all right,
Broke her.
what do I like? I tried everything that I could think of at this point. It hurts. It sucks. But this is what it is now, you know? And so I went back, and luckily they just let me finish out my time instead of going to prison, which was supposed to be my alternative at that point if I violated the probation. Yeah, and then so I got out and I went to rehab right after jail, which was a weird experience too, because I couldn't get anyone to take me, and after I was trying, I told my dad, I was like, I've got to be high or drunk. I got to use to be able to get in.
Yeah.
And that really was the case. Like I kept telling them and they were like, oh, well, you're not using now, so they weren't going to take me.
Yeah.
And so I did. And then
you got in.
Yeah. And after that, like, I remember getting out, and like I had to convince myself. Like, I remember having the bottle in my hand And like the whole time I thought it was like I was working, and I sent a pizza delivery guy. He was out, and I was like, can you stop here and grab this for me? And he brought it back to me, and like this whole time, like my gut is wrenched. And for some reason, like I had to talk myself into drinking it, but I couldn't stop myself at the same time.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You knew you were going to do it anyway.
Yeah, but it was, and I knew it was a terrible idea, and I didn't want to do it, but it was just like, I got to.
I did the same thing. I did coming out of rehab. It was like, it wasn't to get in or anything, but it was like the same. Just that feeling of being like, I know this is a bad idea. I know what I'm going to do. I know I shouldn't, but I couldn't not do it. But I was thinking, I keep wanting to ask you, just out of my own curiosity, about the like being alone, right? Like in those moments when everyone left.
Yeah.
Or really, when you were speaking earlier and just being like, yeah, I kind of like, I like that. Like I'm okay by myself. Is it one of those things where, I hope I can articulate it correctly, but not even is it just one of those things that you're almost like comfortable in, but it's not good? Or like, can it actually be good for you?
Both.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Like,
yeah. There has to be balance. Like it can't be for.
It
like
was bad when they left, right?
Well, I'll tell you this. Like I said before, I got from an early age, shut the fuck up, nothing you have to say is interesting, yada yada. My wife, when I met her in school, cared about what I said. She cared about where I came from. She cared about me, period.
Cared about you, period.
Never,
I know.
I didn't find that anywhere else. And I'll tell you what, I tried to push her away multiple times, multiple ways, and it was unsuccessful. And it was like, this doesn't make sense.
It's fucking weird.
What do you really want from me?
Yeah.
And I had finally like believed like, okay. Now I took it as a license to do whatever the fuck I wanted. So I also knew that I was wrong, and that made it hurt even worse because it was like
You're more fucked up about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And so when I could have everybody else in the world hate me and want nothing to do with me, I still had her, and I didn't have that at that point. And so yeah, I was like scrambling, like, what am I gonna do? How do I, And so I just went, once I tried everything, and it just got me more charges. I, at that point, was just like, okay, I just have to find a way to pretend like this doesn't bother me. This is a long game now,
Yeah.
I gotta do everything look right on court documents and make a change that's visible on paper and from afar because there's no contact, and fool everyone else that's around me that might tell her and all this kind of shit. And it was really all just still a big game. But I got my first taste of recovery. A seed was planted. I went to meetings and like I
Got the gist of it.
yeah, but I also like truly did like feel the spirit while I was in there. Just like the spirit of recovery. Like it did uplift me, and I couldn't make sense of it. But I also wasn't willing to commit to it as like a whole life change. To me, it was just like a 1 hour a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because everything was always a double life for me, so that fit right into it. Go to meetings and
Played right into
shit,
it,
and stop at the liquor store on your way home from the meeting.
Yeah.
All
Walk
that.
home when people are offering you a ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get it.
This
I would,
has been juicy. I don't know. It's 11. It's been 2 hours.
Thanks
So-
for coming, Nick. I feel bad.
I'll make a closing statement.
Okay. I love that. I knew it had to happen.
I mean, I can relate to so much. Just sitting here, listening to you guys, looking at myself, listening to you guys, looking at myself. You guys got work to do. When you first get here, the only metaphor I could use is that you're a fucking jigsaw puzzle that's just been shaken up and slapped on the fucking table. You know what I mean? And that's all that addiction shit. All the pieces are fucked. And then it takes so much time and concentration and effort to look on your stories as you guys did tonight and put the pieces where they belong, you know? And, our traumas are, for me, my traumas today, I didn't get much into my story tonight. I mean, I have leads. Julia has been around a while. She knows my story. I know hers, but it takes time to put these pieces into place. You got to get some recovery under your belt. You know what I mean? I remember being exactly where you guys were when I was 3 and 1 year clean. You know, just, you know, watching you guys connect on that. And I mean, I still do that. We still do that. Didn't we do this at my fucking apartment with Chad?
Yeah.
We had conversations like this all night long.
All
2
night.
hours wasn't shit.
Mm-mm.
We got all hemied up on fucking some good coffee and just
All
go on rants
night
and get gross.
long.
See, that's what we
Gross
talk about,
with it.
getting gross.
Mhm.
And over the years, as you practice principles and you work steps and you pray to God and you sit there and reflect and you take your long drives to work or your long walks, or you're stuck staring at the ceiling at night, caught up on a trauma or an old thought or guilt, shame, and everything that addiction was for us. Like, there's freedom in laying that to bed. And the burdens you carry, the goal is that you don't carry these burdens your entire life. I've put a lot of that shit that I did to bed. You know, I've just accepted it. I know why I did them. I've done the deep dives. I've done the deep digs. You know, I've torn myself apart. I felt the embarrassments all over again. Like I would be driving in my truck on my way to work, and just something from 6th grade come up and haunt me all day long. I mean, not all day, but like, I'm like, man, why did I do that? And you find the place for the puzzle piece to fit, you know? So now that even though I have 10 years, when something bumps that puzzle and it gets a little dismayed, the pieces fit back together way quicker, way easier. I can look at the pieces and be like, oh yeah, I did this before. Put the pieces back together. And that's, it's a lifelong process. You learn a lot about yourself, and it's your story. That's the great thing about it, is it's like it's your story, and we carry this burden, but it's not so much of a burden anymore, because now we're the shining beacons for the next guy who comes in with all this guilt and shame and burden and the traumas and the damage that was done to them and the damage they did to other people. Because they can look at me or any one of us sitting here and wonder why we can have smiles on our face and be like, all I want to do is smile again. All I want to do is know who I am, you know? And it's a real privilege to be sitting at a table like this having conversations with addicts, because earlier when we were talking about when you showed your picture and I mentioned who I said was in jail for murder for the rest of his life, for strangling his girlfriend to death, it's because he didn't put the puzzle pieces into place. And he got high again. And then he strangled his girlfriend to death. Like, there's things worse than just dying. Your defects will eat you alive. This is an internal job. You have to integrate the monster. You know, you have to get to the bottom of what the fuck all of that meant. Because for me, there had to have been purpose there. There had to have been purpose in suffering. And the only thing that I can say is when I got clean, rent was fucking due. You know, it was like, when they held up the mirror and I saw that guilt and shame and I realized how much I had fucking done, and like it starts coming back, right? Early on, you're like re-wearing it, and then you're revealing more of your story, and people are kind of guiding you. Some are telling you you're a piece of shit. Some people are saying like, I can relate. And the idea is pick up your fucking cross and help us go find more guys like you and get them clean. You know, and that's the purpose now. It's not so about me being hung up on trauma, because I have a new life. I've been clean 10 years. I've been clean longer than I used. My life is completely transformed. Although some things do creep up, right? Some things do creep up, but everything else, man, for the most part, I've put it in its place, and I've laid it to rest. I know reasons why, a lot of the behaviors of why I did things. And look, I just had some revelations these past 2 years, some serious revelations from way back, from some sick shit from when I was a child that I couldn't really cope with. I couldn't understand why. Was it just because I was depraved? Was, you know, because I was doing things long before I picked up a drug.
Yeah.
Stealing and just other things too, and and it wasn't just stealing. I mean, it was. The revelations come the longer you stay clean. The goal is to stay clean, you know, yeah. I don't know what else to say. It's really good hearing you guys. I haven't heard anything like that. A good back and forth like we used to do. We sorted so much shit out between us three.
Yeah, we did. This was very kind of, now that you say that.
Nostalgic.
Yeah, very nostalgic.
Yeah.
Feels
Well,
just
nowadays
like
it's like when we sit and talk, it's like, what do we got going on now?
right.
And then we reflect back and we're like, I
Of
know
another period of being clean.
Right,
You know,
I
relating
know.
it to another period of being clean.
Exactly.
Instead of that.
So like now I know where the pieces go.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I talk back and forth all the time. Like, man, I got that thing coming up again. I got this behavior. Listen,
Yeah.
before I went into that obsession that I've been talking about since the podcast has been going on, just like some shit I've been going through, I felt the obsession come on me. I felt it starting. And as soon as it started, as soon as I felt like the splash and the ripple, I felt it coming. And it wasn't even maxed out yet. I thought it might just come and go. But you know what? I called my sponsor and said, hey, Jim, I'll be honest. Here's what's going on. And I'm not feeling so good about it. Just brace yourself, because I think there's some shit coming down the pipe, like from me, spiritually. And I'm so glad I had that insight through breaking things down, doing step work, reflecting, and making those changes to where, like, we can just do the best we can, but at least I didn't get chewed up, you know, and spit out. It's a fucking long road, boys. You know what I mean?
It's a good one.
Oh, it's great. Fuck you guys. I've been saying lately, you slid into home base, man. So this is it.
Splash. Yeah, I think it was.
This is a good one.
This is a great one. This is all. You know what? And like we've said, you know, there's things to talk about. When we come here, nobody really knows what we're talking or what we're going to get into or what we're going to talk about and how it's going to go and where it's going to lead. But it always goes exactly where it needs to go. You know? And I never leave this. And, you know, some episodes, it's like, you know, I'm like, you know, I think about it. But then there's the ultimate truth is that it's just like it is what it is. And that's okay.
I like.
You're here now.
Yeah.
I like the flow of things, like tonight.
When I shut the fuck up?
No. No. It just feels so much better than when we get into go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and whatnot, which is fun.
Yeah.
I haven't even
We get
pulled
a lot
out. Alex Jones, I haven't pulled out the documents. You know?
This was very, very
This is
good.
I mean, so many times we come here and it's just a fucking broadcasted trauma therapy, right? It's just a broadcasted therapy session, you know?
Well, it makes us easy with the back and forth because we all have our own, and we can all relate it.
We do
and-
this. This is what we
Right,
do.
right.
What you guys did tonight is what you're going to continue to do.
That's what I'm saying.
Till the day
like,
you die clean, hopefully.
Right. But and as far as like conspiracy theories, like I said, all that shit
wow.
is fun.
Look, there's
But
other
I don't
conversations
have
to
the fucking
have.
Facts. You guys have like just encyclopedia worth of knowledge on facts and dates and people and. Oh, I know. I have to fall back. Because
Listen,
like,
addiction's
I can
one
bring
big fucking
something up,
conspiracy
but
theory, bud. You know?
let's not.
No, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. I'm just saying, like, it's
You're
all.
just trying
it's
to
all-
close up shop here,
It's all
bud.
conspiracy theory.
I'm trying.
If anyone actually listened to this whole podcast,
I'll give
Thank
you
you.
$1.
Well, Bruce.
you know what?
Bruce M. Said, he came in. The first thing he said, "So where's?" He said, "Where's 8?" I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I've listened all the way through of every single one."
I've actually had more people than
I've had a lot of people say they're fucking vibing.
I've had somebody hit me. I had somebody hit me up and was like, "Dude, like I was really into that. I liked that. You did a good job." And I was like, "Oh, what one did you check out?" And he was like, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I was like, "Oh, sweet." Like, I love that.
I've had 4 people that I'm pretty close with. They told me that, and I didn't like bring this up or anything, but really, I always say something mean upon exit of this, upon ending of this. I always say "fuck you all" or something.
Yeah.
But if you actually listen to the whole thing, and you have been, thank you. That's all I have.
Wow.
I love that. What about you,
Like
Jordan?
and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
I'm back to the fuck you now.
Smash that button.
Lehman 2250.
Down
reach
below.
out.
And if
Instagram.
you leave a comment about your trauma, we'll pin ya.
Ooh, nice. Okay, and then I'll probably respond like a weirdo, but I won't watch it because I hate myself.
If
Gotcha.
you like it, tell your friends
Tell your
and
friends.
have them tell their friends.
Tell their
And
friends.
there
Tell
we
your
go.
mom.
Tell your mom.
Got to get the moms.
Yeah, we do.
We have had a we've had a fantastic episode tonight. Looking forward to more on the horizon. I'm going to try to keep the editing and uploading a consistent thing, but life is getting crazy right now, so who knows? Until next time, Couch Godz out.